Matt, aka Mouse, in my house and on your screen, back with another toy haul for November. First of all, I want to show this Superman DC Superpowers figure from 1989. I do have a few of these, and the Superman I actually do have this particular figure, but the one I have, the paint on the S on his chest is rubbing off, and this was a little bit better than the one that I have condition wise, and the one that I have, I had to glue the arm back on because it broke, so I got a new one. Unfortunately, I do not have the cape with this guy, and these figures range a lot in price. There's so many different variations and condition of these. They're highly collectible. You can get them from $5 all the way up to hundreds of dollars in the package, depending on how rare they are and how mint condition they are. So I don't have any on card, but I hope to get the cape for this guy someday, but I just wanted to show him off quickly. I picked up a couple random Fisher-Price adventure people from a comic book store I went to that were just in a toy bin. This guy is a little rough condition. His shoulder has a crack in it, and a lot of the paint is very scuffed up, but I picked him up, and I remember having a motorcycle guy and a couple other guys when I was a kid. I also got this medic looking guy here, and again I had one that was in like a Evel Knievel type uniform with a motorcycle when I was a kid. And I don't really collect these, but I saw them and I thought, ah, why not? I'll pick them up. I always remember them by their floppy heads. Was able to find this 1990s Crash Test Dummy figure. This is the character Bull from the cartoon series, which was one of the very first computer animated cartoons in the 90s. Usually with these figures they have a gimmick where you can press a button on their chest and their arms and legs and head pop off, but this guy, he's a big bulky guy and a little bit different shaped head. He was supposed to be like the big, stronger Crash Test Dummy in the series, and you can still remove his parts. You can remove his head, and they're just on little pegs there, and you can remove the arms and the legs. And I did have this guy as a kid. This came out in 1992 by Tyco, and I did have this guy as a kid. He came with a shield, which was a car door, and he came with a lasso type of weapon where you could lasso bad guys and pull and rip their arms off. I unfortunately do not have the accessories with this guy, but I picked him up because these Crash Test Dummies are getting harder and harder to find, which makes them slightly a bit more money than your average 90s action figure, but I was happy I found him. I found this creepy looking retro Michelangelo figure from the 90s Ninja Turtles cartoon. I do have the main set of characters. I did have so many of these as a kid. Lots of bad guys, lots of different variations of the turtles. This line is so huge with different variations. I'm not going to collect them all. I had tons as a kid, but there's so many that I just stuck to the main characters. I found this anyway and got it for a cheap price, so I might give it away or I might sell it. But he does have a gimmick where his legs come out like that and he stands taller. So there's that Michelangelo. And also from Ninja Turtles, I got a Splinter. I did not have a Master Splinter. Like I said, I collect the just the main characters of the show. I tend to collect the main characters of 90s and 80s cartoons. I don't have full collections because I kind of collect a little bit of everything. So this guy I was happy to pick up because he has his original cape and belt right there, and this one is the soft head version. I know that there's two different versions of some of the older figures. They have hard heads and some have soft rubbery heads, and this is a soft rubbery one. You can't really tell, but it is a slight different brown color, and you can't really tell by the video, but it is a soft head version, which is a little bit more rare. I think they might have, I don't know, honestly, I don't know if they came out in a different country or if the factory misplaced or broken some of the molds of these figures and re-released them. That's why they have rubber heads. I don't know the story behind that. If you collect Ninja Turtles and you do know, please let me know in the comments. I don't have much anime-based figurines, but I was a fan of Dragon Ball Z when I was a kid, and I find these very hard to find because there are a few different toy lines. This particular one was put out in 2001, and it's by a company called Fun, F-U-N, and it doesn't have a lot of articulation. The head can turn, the arms, they do have knee joints, but that's basically it, and the waist, I think, yeah. So I know that there's major articulated ones by like SH Figure Arts and stuff like that, but I thought it was neat to find this guy, this Goku figure. And I also got one of the villains, Frieza here. I think this is the second form of Frieza. I haven't watched the cartoon in so long, since the 90s. I do not have the little fireball or whatever it is that shoots out of his hand there, but he obviously did come with one because there's a button on his arm and a hole in his arm there that shoots out a fireball. But I think these figures are pretty cool. I'd like to get more of them if I find them. They are harder to find, but can range in multiple prices depending on condition as well. But they're a cool animated cartoon design. I love the cartoon, and it's just basically time before I can find more. I haven't searched a lot online lately, but maybe I can find more of these guys. For vintage Star Wars, I was able to find the black Bespin Guard. There's not a whole lot of vintage Star Wars that I'm needing right now. I do need a lot of the Ewoks, and I am missing a lot of weapons and accessories. But as for characters, I have most of the characters. It's set for the last 17 and some of the Ewoks, I believe. But this was one that I didn't have yet, so I was able to get him for a good price. Now, in the 80s, there were more than one toy line that had holograms in it, and this was one of them, called Supernaturals, and they were all like ghosts and zombies and things like that, horror-themed toys. And I never had any of these as a kid, but I do remember them quite well, along with Visionaries. This particular guy I got for very cheap, and I was surprised I was able to find it for so cheap. These are a little harder to come across these days. It comes with the weapons. He did have a chest plate, which I do not have. Looks like someone had colored the spikes on this bone weapon here he has. These are glow in the dark if you put it under light and then turn the light off. And this particular guy's name is Skull. I'm not sure if you can see the hologram very well. It's an eyeball there on his shield. The hologram is quite old and has some wear to it, and has a hood here that comes off, and very basic articulation. The arms go up and down, the feet go up and down, and I'm not sure if you can see this. It's like a skeleton inside there. The hologram is a skeleton there. It turns into kind of a zombie, and then you turn it to the side and you can see a skeleton, zombie. So that was kind of the feature of these toys back in the 80s. Again, another one was Visionaries, and I'm not sure if there are any others, but you could get a lot of superhero cards that were holograms back in the 80s. And it was just a gimmick that they had for kids for a short time, and a fun toy that they put out back then. So this is the first guy I have. Not sure if I'll collect any more of these. I might sell it because, I don't know, I might hang on to it. I don't know. We will see. But I thought I'd show that off. Last but not least, I have a couple of the WWF, or now WWE, retro wrestling figures. This is The Undertaker, and they all had gimmicks, and his gimmick is doing a clothesline, pull him back like that, and release, and he does a clothesline. And of course this is based on the early 90s, one of the very first looks of The Undertaker. So he has the gray gloves and ripped arm t-shirts there, and wearing the hat, of course. And some of these can be quite hard to find, some of the old Hasbro figures. I think I did pay top price for this guy, but I didn't have him, and he's a harder one to find, so I didn't mind paying full price for him to add to my collection. Also, I got the Honky Tonk Man. He was a character who basically was a parody of Elvis in wrestling back in the day. His one arm is a little bit loose. These guys had very basic articulation and are very cartoony looking, but I think it's fun, and I remember lots of these guys when I was a kid. His gimmick is that he can do a punch just like that, lift up his arm, and he kind of smacks down like that. It's got a bright blue suit on with music notes all the way around. His legs don't move, just moves at the waist and a little bit at the head there. So I got those two wrestling characters there. And that'll be all for my haul for November. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, please leave a comment and subscribe. And the more comments and the more subscribers I get, the more often I will release videos. But thank you for watching. If there's anything that you're interested in collecting, please let me know. I might show off my entire collection of a specific line. If that's something you're interested in, let me know as well. But thanks for watching. Until next time.